Kee Marcello, thanks for joining us here at Rockfiend. How are you?
Thanks, Gareth. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
And you're in Gothenburg at the moment.
Yeah.
And nice weather.
No, well, not really. It's been on and off. I mean, it's kind of always rainy around this time of year. But I mean, for a couple of days we had like 15, 18 Celsius, which is great to be Sweden. Thank God for the Mexican Gulf, the Gulf Stream. That's the only reason we can live up here. Otherwise it would be like well, if you follow the longitude over to North America, you end up in Alaska, where they have like really, really cold weather. It's all because of the Gulf Stream that we can live in Sweden and Norway. So now you know that.
Well, actually, it's exactly the same in Scotland. It's the Gulf Stream.
Yeah.
Gives the heat here too. So we're the same.
Yeah, we're in the same boat, I guess.
So you've been a busy man since I think we last spoke in Glasgow 2018, I think it was.
Yes.
I last spoke to you. So it's a few years now. And I remember at that time you said to me that you had a new project coming up, but you couldn't tell me what it was then for various contractual reasons. But I think now we know exactly what it is. It's been out of this world.
That was the project I was talking about, and I'm really happy to say it's going really well. So we're #1 on the sales charts in Japan as we speak, and it's great. I mean, we signed with JVC Victor, which was the same label I was on in Japan when I was in Europe. So, and I've been doing projects throughout the years with JVC, and I have the utmost respect and trust in what they do, and they've been doing a great job. #1, you can't do much better than that, can you?
Absolutely. So to talk about out of this world, so you've got Tommy Hart, as you've mentioned just before we recorded. Tommy's in Berlin. You've got Ken Sandin, your long-time bass player, obviously. He's on bass. Yeah. Darby Todd is on drums. And of course, there's a few tracks with even the legendary Don Airey in keyboards, of Deep Purple and keyboards. So you released an album with Tommy Hart, and I think it was 2017, the Key of Hearts album.
Yeah, 2017.
And on the face of it, I know it was a different drummer, but on the face of it, it's a very similar basic lineup that you have now. So what was the thinking behind continuing it under a new name as opposed to continuing with the Key of Hearts moniker?
Yeah, I mean, I guess to a lot of people it's very similar, but to me it's two different worlds actually, because what happened was I released Scaling Up, my 5th solo album, in 2016, and when I got the offer in 2017 to play on a Tommy Hart solo album, that's the way I was approached by the label. Right. Would you like to play the guitar on a Tommy Hart solo album? And I said, fuck yeah, that would be great. I just refurnished my studio then. I had all the amps rigged up and I was just ready to go. It would be a great opportunity to check out my guitars, my amps, my pedals and whatnot. And so I agreed to do that. But as things developed, I realized that I was in a band. They named the project a band, and everybody started talking about it as a band, which I wouldn't have accepted it if I know that was going to happen, because everybody that knows me knows, well, they realize that I want to write songs in a project I'm involved in, or possibly produce, or both. I like to have a say in the whole thing, and I didn't write anything on the Key of Hearts album. And what happened was we still talked. The album went really good. We still talked about doing a second album, but the record company had copyrighted the name Key of Hearts, funnily enough. So that made it for us. So we just decided to say yeah. And the thing is with Out of This World is I started off with an idea of doing of trying to find the roots in what I was doing really well, production-wise and riff-making-wise and songwriting-wise during Out of This World and That Makes One with Easy Action, because I was in the zone right then. And it's very close to where I instinctively make music, I reached that zone where everything just flows. And I wanted to get back there and do it now. And people advise me, well, you should. My English publicist actually wanted me to call it Kee Marcello's Europe. But that would have been ridiculous. I mean, I'm not Europe, and neither do I strive to be. I'm my own thing. And I definitely, me and Tommy knew we were going to work together, and that was like a marriage made in heaven. We just found each other like brothers, like that. So that was a no-brainer. And of course, I wanted Darby and Ken in the band. And then Tommy's friend in Japan came up with Out of This World, because his reasoning was when Ronnie James Dio was singing in Black Sabbath, they called it Heaven and Hell, not to confuse anybody. So it's the same line of logic. So I thought it was a great thing, you know. Unfortunately, some people online, less informed, let's say, believe that it's a remake of that Europe album, which it is absolutely not. This is a new band that stands on its own 2 feet, you know, just to get that out of the way. This is a new project. And then, I mean, things just happened really fast. I had 3 songs. We were rehearsing in the Top Floor Studios in Gothenburg, and we were for the only gig we ever did with Key of Hearts, which was in Germany, in Ludwigsburg, at the Heat Festival. And I said, guys, I have 3 songs. Why don't we, you know, record them? Because we're in the studio. Let's do it. So we recorded those 3 songs, and those were Twilight, Lighting Up My Dark, and In a Million Years. So we had a really strong base to fundament to build this whole thing on. And then COVID came in between, obviously, and life in general. I mean, I had still had a lot of solo touring to do. But finally, when I started writing last year, the songs just kept on coming, you know. It's amazing. So I wrote all the songs on the album except one song is called Not Tonight, which I wrote with the singer from Easy Action, Zinni Zan, and the drummer, Björn Höglund. It was originally meant for Easy Action.
Right.
Mark 1, yeah. But it happened on this album. So, and then we had an album, and we started talking about how we're going to do this. I'm going to approach labels, and then somebody came up with this. Nick Crofter came up with the crowdfunding idea.
Indiegogo.
Yeah, when you want, Gareth.
No, listen, you talk away.
Yeah, I do.
You go.
It's like when somebody said, it's your time to play solo key. I can't stop either.
No, you've actually already answered about 3 questions that I had for you in the 1 question. So go. So honestly, keep going. You talk away, but you've actually the point you answered. I was going to ask, obviously, Out of This World is a nod to the Europe album, but you've already answered then where the name came from, and when you explain it along the lines of Ronnie James Dio and Heaven and Hell, that makes a lot of sense.
It does, yeah. I thought it was a really clever take, you know, and we all liked it a lot, you know, and also gave us a chance to get some recognition from it, obviously, because if we would have chosen a completely new name, that's like starting all over, isn't it? You know, we had something to hold on to, you know, which is my past from that era.
And bring it together. And obviously, you know, coming to your modern era, as we mentioned earlier on, you've got Ken Sandin on bass and Darby Todd on drums. I have to say, I think Darby's phenomenal in this album. I think this is the best I've heard him play.
Ah, man, he's amazing. I mean, he must be one of the best drummers in the world. I mean, in this genre, yeah, he plays pretty much all genres as well. I mean, he's a great fusion drummer as well. That rhythm section, and Ken Sandin, originally from Alien, is an amazing bass player. I mean, both of them have been a Kee Marcello band for years.
Yeah.
So I know them really well. And they also played on my Rock of Ages spin-off show, Rock the Night, and in the Rock of 80s, which is another Rock of Ages spin-off show. We did stadium tours with that. And we were way back, and we really worked well together. So it was a no-brainer. I wanted that rhythm section for this band. And Tommy, obviously. And I don't think he's been singing. And that's probably the best he ever sang. And he's a great singer, but he found a new gear on this album.
And as we mentioned just a few minutes ago, Don Airy is on 4 tracks, I think.
Yeah, 4 tracks.
How did that come about? Where was the connection to Don?
Yeah, but I know Don. The first time I met him was when we were doing a double Hammersmith Odeon, as it was called back then, with Europe in 88, maybe 87. And he was there with Neil Murray, who I met previously. And so I kind of known him. I always respected him. I love his work in Colosseum 2 with Gary Moore. I love that, those albums. And well, everything he did in Ozzy, obviously, and since long now, Deep Purple. He's an amazing guy. And we met at a festival in Sardinia some years ago. This crazy, amazing billionaire, actually, Massimo Cellino. He has a golf resort there, and he puts together these enormous bashes. It's like you got a Sweden Rock Festival stage.
Yep.
And people are invited, and you pay a ticket price to get in. But once you're inside, everything is for free, foods and drinks and everything. It's amazing, and all the ticket money goes to charity.
Ah, right.
Because Massimo has enough money. I mean, he's also into football. When we did that festival, he was the owner of the Cagliari football team.
Oh yeah.
He bought Leeds United.
All right. Okay.
So he had that for years, and now I think is it Brescia? I think he owns right now.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, great guy, and he puts together like all-star concerts. It was me, Don Airy, Michael Schenker, Chris Slade from AC/DC. All these people mixed up and doing stuff together. It was just great. And I played with the Purple guys, the other Purple guys as well, Roger and Ian. Amazing. That's an amazing
experience.
Yeah, amazing experience. It was absolutely fabulous. Me and Don Airy would be stuck in the bar after everybody else went to bed, and he would sit by the grand piano, and I would ask him impossible Todd Rundgren songs that nobody heard except him and me, and he would know them fluently, perfect. So we kind of found each other there. So I tried to involve him in a couple of projects up till now, but this worked out for both of us. Thanks to Corona, I have to say. Thanks to COVID.
And talking of big names in rock music, Ron Nevison mixed the album for you. Now, we know people who are into the rock music will know that Ron has mixed albums by Chicago, Kiss, Lynyrd Skynyrd, and of course Europe, Out of This World. He produced that, I think, back in '88.
He produced
it, yeah. Is this the first time you've worked with him since '88? And how did the connection come for the Out of This World album for your project?
Yeah, I actually talked to him not too long ago. Well, it is a long time ago, 8 years ago, but it's in modern times anyway. If we're talking about the 80s, that's ancient times. But I kept in contact with I forgot his name. Man, the head of A&R for Epic Music, Sony Music.
Okay.
Don Grierson.
Oh,
Don Grierson, the legendary, really nice man. He signed Heart and made their career again after they did an album in the early 80s where they wrote all their own material, and it totally bombed, and they got dropped off the label. I can't recall which label they were on. And Don Grierson told them, I can sign you for Sony, but Ron Nevison has to decide the singles, and he's gonna be the song picker, and they agreed to that, and that's how their career restarted. They did 2 albums that were extremely successful, and I really liked those albums. So me working with Ron back then was amazing because I knew what and all the other stuff he did, everything from The Who, Zeppelin, come on, Meatloaf. He's got such a span as well. It's not the same kind of music all the time. He does a lot of stuff. So I talked to him 8 years ago, And me and Tommy talked about who's going to mix this. Because the tendency a lot of mixing guys has nowadays is they seem to think it's some sort of competition in who can compress the material the most, who can use the most compressors and limiters. And really, like I told Tommy, I'm not interested in hearing what the singer had for breakfast, because sometimes that's how compressed everything is.
Yeah.
It's so compressed you can hear what the singer had for breakfast, but you can't hear what he's singing. Yeah. That's when something is terribly wrong. So I said, and it was actually Tommy who said, Ron Emerson, he would be a good guy for this. And I said, fuck yeah. I didn't even think of that. So I called Ron and I explained to him what was going on. And he said, yeah, I would love to do that. And he suggested I can just try out for one song. And he did Twilight and completely blew us out of the room. That was an amazing mix straight away. And we said, if you have the time, can you mix the whole album? And he said, I'd love to. And amazing work that he did. Love it.
It's excellent. Now, keeping in mind, as we discussed just before we started recording, COVID-19 has had this effect on the record businesses. You've obviously explained that you recorded 3 tracks initially, but how did you manage to record the rest of the album with COVID? What was it recorded separately in your various home countries and then put together, or did you manage to get Tommy and Ken and Darby in the same room to record?
We actually did a second session where we recorded the rest of the tracks in one go. And it was right before COVID closed everything down. And I remember Darby flew to Gothenburg. We set up the drums, recorded everything, and he left on a Friday, I think. And if he would have returned 1 or 2 days later, he would have been forced into quarantine. That's how close it was. Mm-hmm. Such a close call. But we just made it, and once the basics were there, we could just finish everything. So the vocals, Tommy finished in Berlin, and I did all the guitars and keyboards in my studio, right here, as a matter of fact. And Ken did his basses in Gothenburg, in the center of Gothenburg, where he lives. Okay. So it's a bit of both, Preferably, I would like to have everybody in the same room and just press rec. But for the next, that's what I'm planning for the next album. Fly over Ron Emerson and sit on Santorini, an island of Greece, in the Black Rock studio, and we just rig everything up and go 1, 2, 3, 4, hey, go. Well, yeah, that's what I want to do.
Sure, Joe Bonamassa recorded at Black Rock. It's quite famous, yeah.
I know Kostas Kalamiris, the owner of the studio, so we've been talking a lot about me recording there. It just hasn't happened yet. I hope on the next Out of This World album we can do it.
So a lot of, speaking again just at the beginning, a lot of bands are using the old, what was the old, now defunct Pledge Music idea to raise funds, etc. So you used the Indiegogo for Out of This World. You offered limited edition items, the signed CDs, which I myself have ordered. There was coloured vinyl, other bundles. The campaign, it's now just closed just a few weeks ago, but I had it last night, and you've made 238% of your goal. So is that better than you'd hoped for? Are you quite happy with that?
Yeah, well, we're happy with it, absolutely. The thing is, we intentionally set the first goal pretty low because we wanted to, surpass it by a lot. But the thing is, when we started off talking about a crowdfunding campaign, that was it, that was going to be the whole thing, to start by doing a crowdfunding campaign. But when we were talking to people in the business, Nick Crofta got interest from Japan, from several labels in Japan. And finally, we got an offer from JVC, and I thought we got to take this. JVC is great. Let's do it. So in the end, we would hardly have needed the Indiegogo campaign to finance the album, but it's good. Now we have the good thing with the Indiegogo campaign is that now we own everything of the product, like I think musicians should do nowadays, because the alternative would have been to go for a label, and they would now own the product. which is a big difference. Now we can license it. We can do whatever we want with it. Both albums, actually, a live album and a studio album, and we can do different versions and release it all over the world in different formats. So it's a good thing. So yeah, I'm really happy with the Indiegogo campaign.
Well, just to talk about the album itself, I've been fortunate enough to have heard the album. I've listened to it several times, and I've written a review which will be published on Rockfiend, maybe even before this interview. Certainly very soon it will be there. Now, to use a Scottish phrase, we'd call it a belter of an album.
A belter?
Belter of an album. Let me assure you, that's very positive.
Yeah, I actually heard it before. Maybe you said it the last time.
So, yeah, was the album, well, you've already mentioned actually that you primarily wrote the music for the album. But did you have a particular idea as to how you wanted it to sound at the time you were writing? Were all the songs new, or did you have any from years gone by that you brought back in?
Actually, it's always a mixture of both. I would say all the songs are new ideas, except In a Million Years. Because In the Million Years, the verse and the chorus I had identically written for Prisons in Paradise.
All right, okay.
I never made the album. We never even tried it out, actually. I don't think we have a demo of it even. But I did a demo of it in the Bahamas, where I was residing at the time. I know it's a tough job, but somebody has to do it.
Terrible.
Yeah, terrible. But I had a demo of it, and I remember that our then manager, Herbie Herbert, who was also the manager of Journey and Steve Miller Band and Roxette for a while, he loved that song. But there was a lot of politics involved with the whole Prisons in Paradise era, unfortunately. So it somehow got lost, like a lot of other good tracks for that album. But I actually found an old quarter-inch tape.
Right.
I was cleaning out my storage, and an old quarter-inch tape, and it said Compass Point on it. And I said, what? Compass Point? And then I remembered, I went to Compass Point, which is a great studio where they recorded Back in Black, AC/DC recorded Back there, and a lot of other records have been made there. It was just like a 5-minute drive from where I was living in the Bahamas. And that was the only place on the island that sold quarter-inch tapes. I bought one just to mix down my demos. And I found this quarter-inch tape, and I can see, it was falling stuff off the tape. So I sent it away for baking. Have you heard about this?
No, that sounds technical.
Because the magnetism of the tape disappears over the years, over age. And what you have to do is you bake it in, I think it's like 75, 80 degrees Celsius for a certain amount of time, even lower maybe. And then you can play it back enough time to make digital copies.
Ah, right, okay.
So that's what I did. I sent to this place in Sweden where they do that. And I got digital copies of those demos. And one of them was In a Million Years. So I pretty much did it. The only new part of it is the mid-8, the bridge after the second chorus. So that's the only new part, and it's identical to the demo from 1990 maybe. Yeah.
So specifically then, that's the one that was written for Europe and never used.
Yeah.
And now we're hearing it.
What?
And now we can hear it.
Now you can hear it, and it turned out so much better than I first planned, because, well, Tommy is an amazing singer, and the rhythm section is to die for.
Yeah, oh, totally. As I mentioned earlier on, Darby has literally blew me away in this album. It's the best I've heard him. The power from his drumming is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's just amazing.
As we've mentioned, many of the tracks have keyboard in it. I know that you do the keyboard that Don Airey doesn't do. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it gives it that kind of authentic, what I would call an authentic kind of 80s hard rock feel to the music. Now, the opening track, Twilight, which you spoke about briefly, it's got a kind of what I would describe as almost like a rock musical or rock opera feel to the beginning of it. A big opening. Now, obviously, we know that you took part in the kind of Swedish Rock of Ages version and then the Rock of 80s show following that. Was that in your mind when you were writing that, or is that purely coincidental?
Yeah, I guess some of it comes from there. That bombastic sort of big kind of anthemic kind of writing. But it's about the Twilight is about the end of the world, the last twilight for mankind, so to speak. And so I wanted to be really for real, bombastic. And I love the intro and those synths that surrounded, the entire feel of the song. And I was so happy when Don Airey did the outro, which is very dramatic. I don't know if you remember it. It's epic. It makes it even bigger. Right when you think the song is over, it gets even bigger. Love it. So I guess it's a bit of musical in there.
Yeah, I find many of the tracks like that, they could easily fit into a kind of rock musical setting.
Yeah, maybe that's a good idea. Maybe we should do a rock musical.
There you go. I get a credit for that.
Yeah, I gotta put executive producer.
Now, as I say, there's a lot of epic, good-going rockers on it. There's some mid-tempo songs, and of course, no kind of hard rock album would be complete without a few ballads as well. And one of my favourites, Only You Can Teach Me How to Love Again. Absolutely, it is a magnificent song. So was there a plan or a blueprint when you were sequencing the album, just as to how you wanted things to fit in and where you wanted each track to lie?
You mean the sequences?
Yeah, the sequence of the songs, yeah.
Actually, we did not agree on the sequencing until the very last minute. And I had a different idea. I can't remember right now. And I think I had the manager on my side, Nick. I think Nick and me were thinking the same line of thinking. But Tommy was really upset. And he said, no, think about it. Give it a chance. And then when I thought about it, and then I just went, wow, he's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works just like that. The thing I was opposing, I was not agreeing with, was that it actually ends with two sort of ballady tracks.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then Not Tonight at the end.
But it's great after that journey to go down like this. I think it really works.
I agree. I totally agree. When I was listening to it, I actually noticed that it goes from You Teach Me How to Love Again to Not Tonight, and they're the two maybe softer tracks on the album.
Yeah.
And I suppose usually you would find these tracks in the middle, back in the 80s, 90s, but it really works having them towards the end. It just brings the album down to a nice close.
Yeah, what can I say? Tom is a genius.
So, as I said earlier on, I've written a review for Rockfiend, which will be published very, very soon, and it's a very positive review. But how have you found that the album has been received elsewhere in the world?
Oh, it's been absolutely crazy. I mean, we have several 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5. I never think I've ever gotten this positive reviews ever in my life.
Really?
No, I remember Easy Action That Makes One got 5 out of 5 in the biggest newspaper in Sweden, but that was really unusual back then for anybody to get it. People like Bruce Springsteen would get it, or Dylan, but and for an AOR band to get a 5 out of 5 was unheard of. So that was good. But on this Side of This World album, I mean, we're getting it from so many people in different countries. Unbelievable. I'm really, really grateful.
Uh-huh.
I know that Zappa once said that writing about music isn't it a bit like dancing about architecture? This is what I like your house.
He had a way with words.
Yeah.
No, that's good. A #1 in Japan, as you mentioned at the beginning of the interview as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's clearly been very well received and well deserved. So from that point, when you have a successful album and people are enjoying it and taking it to #1. Obviously, the next thing is they want to see it live. Now, COVID has put an end to a lot of that in the past year. But
Yeah.
do you have any plans to take Out of This World out on the road at any point once things clear?
Actually, some changes are happening right as we speak, but it's too early to say anything for sure. Last night, actually, here in Sweden, the government went out and talked about the new COVID rules. And in June 1st, we're going to start with letting sports events happen if they're outdoors.
Right.
Some smaller festivals. Sorry. And like fairs, going to open completely. All outdoor events are going to be pretty much like they used to be.
Yeah.
And in September, they plan to have everything back to normal.
Really? Excellent.
Yeah. Unbelievable. September, October, they don't have an exact date for it, but I think they're figuring September, October will be pretty much back to normal. And if this works, all over the world, the first thing that would be a no-brainer would be a Japanese tour, obviously.
Absolutely, of course.
The Out of This World tour of Japan, obviously. That would be great, So that's definitely in the planning. If it happens later this year or the beginning of next, I don't know. And as things are lining up, we want to go on the road and do festivals and all that. Absolutely. But little by little, we have to still be very respectful about this horrible pandemic.
Yeah, of course. Of course. So to speak a bit about yourself, Kee, the last time I spoke to you in Glasgow, as I say, 2018, you had found a gentleman. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he was from Chicago and he was now living in Stockholm, and he was going to translate your book, your autobiography, The Rock Star That God Forgot, into English.
Right. Yeah.
Is that still happening? Because I'm desperate to read it.
The thing is, he's doing he did a great job, but the company that were doing this, they were financing it, they completely disappeared. I don't know if it was COVID related or anything, but I haven't heard back from them. It's called Tsunami Edizione in Italy. And they were going to pick up because obviously nobody works for free. And I haven't had time personally. I'm totally busy with the stuff I'm doing. So I don't have any news on that, I'm sorry to say.
Well, I'll look at. I'll ask you the next time as well.
Yeah, do that.
So looking towards the future, I mean, obviously, as we mentioned, you've got your involvement in Rock of Ages. Well, if things open up again, is that something that will still be in the horizon for you, doing the musical stuff?
No, I think I'm done. I mean, we did 2 full years of the actual musical, and it was great because I mean they wrote me into the musical. I don't know if a lot of people know that I wasn't just some musician playing in a musical. I was playing myself in the musical. So Kee Marcello, which was the only reason I actually did it, because it was a fun twist to the whole thing. I mean, the whole musical is about hard rock in the 80s, and there am I playing myself. It's really awkward. So there was a lot of the third wall, I believe it's called meta theater, we could do, when we went out of the play. And all of a sudden, the head character would ask me, how about taxes? Because we're known for having a problem with taxes in Sweden, with Europe. And he would start discussing me about taxes. It was hilarious. A lot of stuff like that. Meta theater really worked on this. But having said that belongs to that era. And also we did a spin-off show, a couple of spin-off shows. One called Rock of Ages, which we toured around in Sweden on the biggest arenas. We did the Globe in Stockholm, Scandinavium in Gothenburg, all those big arenas, and hugely successful. And on top of that, I did a show called Rock of 80s in a theater in Gothenburg. And after that, I did several cities with my own spin-off show, Rock the Night, where Derby and Cannon plays as well.
Yep.
And so I think I'm pretty much done. Yeah. And what I want to go back to my daytime job, which is writing and producing music for myself, my solo albums, but right now the number one priority is for sure Out of This World.
Absolutely.
Actually, I'm already starting to work on. I'm working right now on some new songs for album number 2.
I was actually going to ask that. I mean, is that now what you have for the future? Is Out of This World very much your priority now?
Yes. I mean, it turned out so well, Normally, when I do an album like that, it was really intense and a lot of fun because, I mean, Ron Nevison lives in the state of Washington, up in the mountains, where he has his studio. And the last week of the mixes was really intense because we had pretty much basic mixes of all the songs. It was just a couple of tweaks, like we want to bring up the guitar there, the vocals up here and down there, those kind of nitty gritty businesses. And so I was online, and this is hard for me to understand. I was online in my studio here in Gothenburg, listening to exactly what Ron Nevison heard in his speakers, in his studio in America, in the state of Washington, and also his engineer, his Pro Tools engineer, was doing the engineering from Portland, Oregon, and we were all real time. So I would see them on the camera, real time, and hear the music real time. So when he raised the level for the guitar solo, I can hear the guitar solo go up. It's science fiction. To me, it's just marginally less believable than Beam Me Up, Scotty. It's out of my reach. Amazing. It's the streaming service online that you can use for this. It's definitely not the last time I use it. It's really great if you just want to do some tweaks for a mix. But like I mentioned earlier, we're gonna try to do it all together next time. But I kind of lost the thread there. What was the question again?
No, I was saying, so Out of This World is what you have. That's your priority for the future.
Oh, definitely. I mean, normally when I've done a project like this, especially the last 3 weeks of the mixes, I was actually on state of Washington time. Because I had to be up when Ron and Mac was up.
Of course, yeah.
So it was I was jet lagged for weeks.
Jet lagged.
Being on the same spot but being jet lagged. So it took some time to recover. And normally what I do, I just put away the album. I don't want to hear it for a while.
Yeah.
And then I just let it be. I didn't listen back to anything. And then I picked it up when I got the records actually and listened to it. And man, it really works. Yeah. I'm really proud of this. I want to keep on doing this, So definitely Out of This World in the future, priority number 1.
So just finally, the Indiegogo campaign's finished now, but if anyone reads my review or is watching this interview in Rockfiend and they want to buy the album, is there still a way they can buy it now, or how will they be able to get a hold of it?
Right now, you cannot unless you order it from Japan. Very soon, we're going to have like a web shop. If you follow outofthisworld.se, or you can follow us on Facebook, and you will see the news coming up there. But we're also in negotiation with a couple of really interesting labels to have a more traditional label release for the rest of the world, both in the EU, America, the rest of Southeast Asia, the rest of Asia, and Oceania and all that. So we definitely, you're going to see the album come out, and you can find it in the record store or wherever you want to buy it, so to speak.
So hopefully at some point you'll be able to walk into your local record store and pick out maybe the vinyl or the CD, or indeed whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, however you listen to music, it will be there.
I would say I'm hoping later this year, but more realistically early next year.
Yeah.
You can find it everywhere.
Now, in that case, I'm delighted to say that I've got my CD copy coming very, very soon, and I'll be able to play it anywhere.
Yeah, awesome. Also, we have some CDs left from the campaign, so people can actually mail or PM to Out of This World on Facebook, and they can actually still buy them.
Right.
Yeah. So it's still not too late.
Well, do you know something? I very nearly bought the vinyl, but didn't. But I may do that now.
Yeah, why not? You can have it autographed.
Oh, well, hey, I'll hold you to that.
Yeah, why not? I'll do it at least. I don't know if I can get Tommy here in time, but you know, I live here in Västerfrölunda outside Gothenburg, and I'm going to the Spin Road vinyl factory when they're going to manufacture the actual vinyls. Oh. I'm going to be part of so I'm going to film from there. I'm going to bring a cameraman and when I'm hanging out with the guys at Spin Road, and when you get all these different colored LPs and all that. Yeah. Looking forward to that. It's just weeks from now. I can't remember exactly, but yeah.
Well, I think you may have persuaded me now.
Yeah.
I think I could be PMing and saying, or DMing you and saying, right, okay, go for it.
Yeah, I'm good like that. It's like brainwashing.
A salesman.
Yeah.
Well, Kee, as always, it's been a pleasure to speak to you. I wish you the very best of success with Out of This World. As I've said before, it's a terrific album. My review will be coming out very soon. And I'm quite sure that when people hear it, they'll hear exactly the same what I've heard, which is just an absolutely superb hard rock, AOR, 80s feel album. A feel-good album, I think is how you would describe it. Yeah. And we'll look forward to you coming out with more in the future.
Thank you a lot. Thanks a lot, Gareth. And like, it seems like when we're doing an interview, I forget it's an interview. It's just like talking to a buddy, you know.
Well, that's good to hear, but it'll be great to speak to you again, hopefully in the near future, and thanks for speaking to Rockfiend.
You got it, Gareth. Thanks for having me.
We'll take care.